I have a new friend, an online friend. We've shared stories. She has autism, and the truth is that we have so many similarities. And along with the autism, of course, she has to follow a diet similar to mine, organic, no chemicals, and toxic ingredients. She is not in a gas mask like I am, but she was asking me about my gas mask, and I thought it was time I kind of did a little update on my Parkinsonism disease and allergies. It's an MSA Advantage gas mask filter, and it's much newer and it's lighter, and the filters last a lot longer. It's good on 100% on gas and diesel and toxic hydrocarbons, but it's not activated charcoal. It's a new technology, and it really is wonderful. And frankly, I can't go anywhere without it. And of course, I have to have raw okra that controls my attacks and has reversed a lot of the brain damage and the memory loss of being poisoned over decades. But before I discovered the gas mask and okra, I lived in excruciating pain, like being electrocuted through every molecule of my being. Now, when I take an attack, that is what happens, but I'm able to reverse it and control it. Within limits, of course. I can also die from an attack. But the original mask was very heavy and painful, but it was either wear it or die. And I wear a hat to cushion my head a lot because I have to be in a gas mask at all times. And I have to wear goggles as well when I'm outside because I get eye infection. I have a dangerously low immune system that's been compromised by toxic chemicals in air, food, and water. And the Advantage elastic is adjustable. Now, I made a few changes to it because I didn't like the head clasp. And because I sew, I just sewed on some elastic and I did my own little thing. Safety regulations for the guys who work in the mines don't allow them to do that, but you know, I'm not part of a union, so I can do what I want. And I am in Sudbury, Ontario, and there is nowhere safe for me to drive, walk, or breathe without a gas mask. Now, I know like many like Jackie and me, they've had the money and spouses that move them into wilderness areas where they live in quiet isolation. Mount Sasha, California, has a community of chemically hypersensitive people living like in a bubble. And personally, I've had many visions that each generation, millions of children will suffer and be born like us. So over a period of 60-odd years, I used myself as a guinea pig to test, research, and find ways to not live in a bubble, and ways to do it so that it was inexpensive. 200 years from now, almost all humans will be just like Jackie and me. Autism is also part of the problem that we have with poisoning our species. And I'm one of the lucky ones in a sense. I mean, there's nothing lucky about my disease, but I have an extremely high pain tolerance. And like my partner doesn't he has a very low pain tolerance. So it's a lot harder for somebody with a low pain tolerance than it is for somebody like if you've got a high pain tolerance, it does make it a little bit easier because you can't control from day to day. You're always going to take attacks. But after I read her story, it really put me into flashbacks, all the pain, the nausea, the convulsions, semi-catatonic months at a time, the horrific medical abuse that I endured, and all the people. And I met so many just like us all over the place, living in isolation. There was a woman in Chelmsford, 39 years in her bedroom. And in 1989, I helped her husband clean out all kinds of junks and soap and ammonias and bleaches from the kitchen. And I've got all that listed on my OKRA Diet for All website. That's www.okra-diet4all.com. and all of the information is there. But I also was quite lucky in that at that time, media was really supportive to me. And I was able to get a lot of media publicity, and that did help. The MSA and the unions in the United States, Steelworkers Union, they sent doctors up and they helped get better gas mask equipment for the men in the mines and the fire department and so on. Back in the 80s, they didn't have any equipment at all. And our military, the equipment was so bad. In 1990, the gas mask equipment was so bad that the World War I gas mask was better equipped. So anyway, because I had a lot of media, all of that's changed. I was certainly very lucky, and I'm very grateful for that. But then through media, I helped to fight ban smoking and perfume in dance halls and restaurants. There was a man who couldn't even touch plastic, and he needed a porcelain phone, so I happened to have one, so I gave him my old one. I'm not bothered with plastic as long as it does not bleed off fumes, but there is cheap plastic that bleeds off gas fumes, literally, and that can make children with allergies can die from that. And some cannot speak coherently like I was. I lost the ability to speak, to write, or to even read with coherence. I was at the level of a 5-year-old child for many years, 22 years to be precise. And in 1987, a pharmacist, while I was in that condition, taught me what mold was, dust mites, microscopic world that I could not breathe. He was from Japan, and he said I'd been poisoned, although he didn't know from what. He believed that my intelligence was being trapped, and if I reduced my level of toxic world in my environment, worked to rebuild my immunity, he was convinced I could reverse my brain dysfunction. Well, I did all of that, but I was not successful until I discovered raw okra. And eating several raw okra daily is responsible for controlling and reversing the brain damage so that I can now read and write and speak coherently. Now, when I take an attack, I lose it, but I'm able to get it back very quickly by detoxing with raw okra. And I had to boycott all Canadian food at the age of 70. So I took attacks since the age of 6, and I lost my career and my homes and everything, and I became terminal. Because in Canada, once again in Canada, anything can be in the food and it doesn't have to be on the label. We don't have right to know legislation in Canada. They can put 1 item, 6 items, or no items. So at the same time, I stopped eating out. That was only 6 years ago. And I had to stop eating with my mother because God knows how many thousands of times she poisoned me. And I don't eat other people's food unless it's been cooked to the way my great-grandmother cooked. The Finnish people cook like that, but I have found very few. In Sudbury, the Greeks don't cook with olive oil or the ancient ways anymore. They're using canola, and canola is one of the main causes of Parkinsonism disease. And at 72, it only took 2 years, and my body was beautiful and perfect, and I could ski and I could run up 2,000 feet on Capriol Mountain. I was beautiful and magnificent at 72. Then an inoperative benign parasitical fat tumor in my right thigh muscle did nerve damage, and that took me 4 years to repair that. I tried vegan diet, but it just made me worse. I need yogurt and kefir and some meat, not a lot, but some, and it's all organic. I eat only organic meats. I met last year in Valcarran at the beach 3 children, age 3. She had severe sun allergies, and she was all covered up playing in the sand. And the 5-year-old with similar allergies to mine, and they were born with my disease, and a 7-year-old. He was diagnosed with autism. But as I talked to this boy, I said to him, and he was really impressed that at 76, that's like a year ago, that I was doing so well. And he said, I can be like you. And I said, oh, absolutely. And he was really bright and really brilliant. And the mother pretty much has him on a diet similar to mine. She did what I did. She researched with the American agencies, and she's controlling her children's diet like I do. But this boy has been subject in the Sudbury district of really terrible abuse. And autistic children really are badly treated in this region. A woman executive from the Sudbury School Board went into his class, and right in front of the class, and he is sitting right there, reported that all autistic children were stupid and bad and should not be allowed in school. When the mother told me this, I was furious. And I said to her, he is your child. It's your job to fight this. That woman should be fired. And he came over to me and hugged me. And again, that's not typical behavior of an autistic child. I think he's been misdiagnosed. But nevertheless, whether he be autistic or not, he does have Parkinsonism, my disease. He was born with it, and I didn't, but I didn't get mine till I was 6 years old. So you can either be born with it genetically through your parents' air, food, and water being poisoned, and each generation is getting worse and worse, and it more and more each generation. This is increasing in leaps and bounds. Now, the truth is I would have been diagnosed with autism, except that I had an ability to analyze investments, and as long as I was making people money, even if I had trouble speaking or writing, I could analyze the market. And as long as people were making money and my doctors were making money in real estate, I guess they couldn't diagnose me as being autistic. But those very same people abandoned me and left me to die on the streets, and they certainly didn't do anything for me. There's hundreds of thousands are being ignored, hidden from view, and given many names, but we are all the same. I'm going to be in flashbacks for a while. I thank Jackie for the memories. We have both come a long way from where we were, and that wonderful mother of those 3 children, wherever she is. Keep them in my prayers daily. Today, no doctor controls my body. I have a handful of doctors who support me in my work and my research, and they don't do anything to harm me. But overall, the medical system in Canada, and without Americans, I would have died. In Canada, we children and people with food allergies or Parkinsonism become retarded and left to die in the streets with less rights than stray dogs. I don't fight Health Canada's corruption anymore. I simply don't have time. They are a fascist regime on the take to drugs and food industry. It's just easier to educate the doctors I come in contact with. And I've sent everything out to American agencies, and they have it all, and they posted it. But Canada's not a democracy, and it never was, and unfortunately it never will be. Jackie and those children and I are the future. I had to stop trying being with groups. They all meant well, but they would sidetrack me from my goal to get as much research and education onto the internet and into the universe for the generations to come. When I had the media helping me and met people like us, most could not read or write, but I still had that ability to research. So with their help, I was able to send everything to American agencies. Today I can speed read with the help of that Japanese pharmacist. And what I do is I research and then I put it into simpler words. And I put less focus on the science and more focus on the simple solutions. And I put it up on websites. But when I die, of course, those websites will be gone. So that's why I'm talking about this now. I have always known that this was my job on the planet. I will continue to fight for rights, but I won't be fighting the government anymore. I've had to give that up. I have neither the money nor the energy. I help seniors dance groups by promoting and supporting with my presence and helping to do the advertising, because dance is a wonderful exercise, and no matter what your age is, you're going to get healthier if you dance. And I do the same with cross-country skiing. I'm trying to get it back into the schools for the children in our district. A monster whose name I won't mention, a member of parliament, then he became a principal, and then he became the mayor of our city. He canceled dance, art, music, and skiing for our children in the schools. And they're in school less than 2.5 hours a day. That's because of our unions. But no member of parliament, no member of provincial parliament or federal has been willing yet to do anything to help me on any of the rights. Doug Ford said he would do something, but maybe that was just to get my vote. I don't know. I have to wait and see on that one. I'm not going to judge anyone yet, but I know all the others. I've been at it for a very long time, for decades, and not one, but especially Glenn Thibeault. 2009, I begged that man for help, and he wouldn't even answer my letter. He could have put a bill through to ban secret filing. He could have helped me get the media publicity necessary to get Health Canada to give us the same rights that exist in every other country but Canada. But he would do nothing. Yeah, we have an awful lot of politicians like Glenn Thibeault. I hope he's not. I hope he wasn't elected in the last election. God help us if he was. Anyway, I put articles out on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and as much information as I could, and I've emailed as much as I can to all of the other health groups. And I just try to maintain my health as best I can, working one day at a time. A special congratulations to that young mother and her 3 children, and to Jackie. Hugs from the north to all of you out there suffering. There are ways you can help yourself. One day at a time, you can help yourself. But it does mean you have to go on a very strict diet. It must be organic, no alcohol, no drugs, no cigarettes, no smoking. Yeah, it's pretty extreme. And if you're smart, you'll get in an Advantage gas mask like me. Never get in your car and drive and breathe in those fumes. That is really, really stupid. Okay, God bless everybody. Over and out.